I now call to order the August 20th, 2024 special meeting, time being 6 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, make it a roll call, please.
Trustee Teets.
Here.
Trustee Moyer.
Present.
Trustee Wiegand. Here. Trustee Cannon.
Here.
Trustee Daly.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Mason.
Here.
Mayor Shosse.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Any amendments to the agenda this evening? No. Any conflicts of interest with the agenda this evening? No. Okay. This time we will move on to public comment. Members of the public wishing to comment on non-agenda items, please sign at the sheet, state your name for the record, and you'll be given 2 minutes to speak.
James Raymond, Buffalo Creek. A couple questions from last week's PowerPoint presentation that was put on the screen. One showed that we had a tiered structure on the water rate with a base rate, and the tier structure going from tier 1 to 2, tier 2 to tier 3. I went back through all the invoices since I've been here in 2013, and I didn't see any tier structure listed on the invoice that went to the resident of the community. So the question is, how was this communicated to the resident if it was in place? And if it was in place and not communicated, why wasn't it? So we're going back in the Wayback Machine. Okay, hopefully we can do some homework on that. The second question, I have like 6, but the second question, the mayor closed out the presentation or stating about the yellow grass. We have water restrictions in place right now. It's always been that the water treatment plant was the Achilles heel. Didn't have enough to keep peak demands in the summer months. Wellington is open for business when the water treatment plant and the sewer plant is online. With that being said, come the summer months, if we do not have the water crisis, financial part of it addressed, what do we tell the residents if the water restrictions are released? How do they deal with the HOA? Because I think we need to look forward. Because that's going to be, we see what the financial impact is currently, and based on the recommendations of the consulting firm, we're supposed to do a 5% increase 5 years in a row. So that has a substantial impact on financial budgets. And I left a copy of my questions with Ed Cannon. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Just like open discussion. That's like kind of.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
yeah, on anything that's non-agenda. And so the agenda is the discussion of the HUD grant.
Okay.
So anything not related
So
to
we
that.
can do the water thing.
You can talk about whatever you'd like for 2 minutes.
Okay. Colleen McNaney, and you all heard from me last week, but I wanted to reiterate my I don't know, disappointment, my worry, I don't know what you want to call it. Our home values have gone down, which is what I said last time. I have a neighbor that has their house for sale, had it for sale for quite some time. They've only been in it for a year. And at that time, that neighbor was having a difficult time selling their home because of the water bill. Everyone that came and looked at the house refused to purchase it or put a contract on it solely because of the water bill. That was last year. Fast forward to this year, that same house is for sale. They've only been in it for a year. They've had a $1,200 water bill. Their water has been turned off because she cannot afford to pay the water bill. Sorry, I got something stuck there. They now have the house listed for less than what they purchased it for a year ago. So I am extremely concerned about our property values. I appreciate the people that called the news thing to bring attention to it, but I think that was a double-edged sword. I think it brought attention to it, may have brought up people's attention here, but as a town, it's killing us because now everyone knows about our issues and no one's gonna wanna purchase here because of those issues. So I know this isn't this board, some people are on the board from last year that did vote for this tier. Again, I am begging, begging, begging all of you guys. And I know you're working diligently to do it. Please come up with something. Because I mowed my yard today. I'm using air quotes because I used to have a beautiful yard. And I had barbecues. I'm gonna continue for my last. I
So,
had barbecues. I'm gonna continue. I just paid $1,300 in that.
so I have to treat everybody the same,
I just.
and you give
someone
2
please give me
minutes.
2 minutes. Thank you.
So I'm not gonna allow that for this meeting. You were given 2 minutes. I appreciate it. It was 2 minutes because we're on a time constraint to get this done this
Okay,
evening.
well, I'll step away from the podium. I had a beautiful yard. I had, not wasting my time. I'm not wasting any.
Miss McNanny, please respect. I'm trying to hold decorum and I have to run this meeting.
Yeah.
And I have to be fair with everybody. And so we're giving you 2 minutes and you can speak next meeting. And I'm not trying to dismiss you by any means. But I have to keep this meeting in order.
Could have said what I wanted to say.
Hi, Stephen Carmen, live in Park Meadows. I appreciate the help from Town Administrator Patti Garcia in answering some of my questions from last week. I also appreciate the engagement from Trustee Teets as she's been engaged with this issue. There appears to be a disproportionate burden on the cost of water being carried by single-family residences in the town of Wellington compared to other customer types, including multifamily, commercial, and irrigation customer types. From what I'm seeing, and again, I'm basing this on what it looks like to me. I'm not saying it's what it is, okay? But it looks like that disproportionate burden for single-family homes makes itself known in the base rate, stormwater fees, and rate structure. And so I would just encourage the town to look at those 3 areas and ease the burden on single-family homes. Then we can water our lawns and take care of our gardens.
Thank you. Okay, no more further public comment. All right, Mr. Clerk, will you please read the title for item C1?
Hardship utility grant increase.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Patti Garcia, the town administrator, will present. Ms. Garcia?
Good evening, Mayor and Trustees. Patti Garcia, Town Administrator. In speaking with several trustees last week, the concept of increasing the hardship utility grant was brought to my attention, and I think it's a great idea. So here we are to talk about it a little bit more. The hardship utility grant, AKA the HUG grant, was put into place in about 2021. The $300 amount was created based on the average of 2 to 3 months of a utility bill. So back in 2021, that $300 could cover 2 to 3 months of an average utility bill. To date, we've had 10 grant applications have been received and distributed. Additionally, we have contracted for 25 free irrigation audits and 15 have been used so far. So we still have 10 irrigation audits for free for people who are interested. Last week, Deputy Director of Public Works Megan Smith provided a report that indicated the average utility bill for June was $212 and July was $197. The Board of Trustee budget includes both the HUG grant and a board discretionary fund. To date, the available balance in the grant fund is $9,129. the available balance in the board discretionary fund is $19,500 for a total of $28,629 for you to do with as you please. The board can determine the amount of the HUD grant. I put, a couple trustees offered up $500, so that was what I put into the memo. But it is up to the board's discretion as to what they feel would be a good amount for that HUD grant through and we're recommending that we do that through the end of 2024. And we can talk about during the budget process, talk about what that HUD grant amount should be and include that in the budget for 2025. If an increase is approved tonight, we will update the form online tomorrow morning and make sure it's ready to go for residents by tomorrow, probably early morning. And I stand for any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions, Trustee Moore?
I don't have any questions, but I'm ready for discussion whenever that's appropriate.
Thank you. Trustee Wiegand, questions?
Yes, I do. You're looking at raising it to $500. Does that go directly just to tack onto their bill to pay it off?
Yes,
Or
it-
do they actually have some cash in hand where they could do something else with it?
No, it goes directly to the utility account.
Okay, the only reason I was even asking that is because to update equipment there's a little financial burden there, and I didn't know if we could divert some of that for that particular part. So just a thought. My new Rainbird stuff
Oh,
costs
gotcha.
$250 to upgrade. And I'll let you know how much it saves me next week.
That sounds like a plan.
Thanks, sir. Trustee Daly. Do Teets.
I do. So is this, anyone can apply and all are approved, no matter what, for this HUD grant?
We have not turned anyone away.
Okay, so the chances of someone who comes to you with a $700 water bill, they submit an application, while they may not have needed a grant previous to this because they were doing fine, this is a large blow. Like some people had mentioned, it's 3 car payments in some homes. So there's really no restrictions towards the application. I'm just saying that because I thought I saw someone say they were denied, and I'm just wanting to verify that anyone can submit an application to apply for this.
I don't know of anybody who has been denied. And really the hardship is, it's a really high water bill and I can't afford to pay it.
Yep,
That's
okay.
the hardship.
Perfect. That was one of my questions. The other one of my questions is there a possibility that we could, either the mayor himself or the board of trustees, send out a letter to the HOAs? Because I've seen some people are still getting those notices and it scares them.
Mhm.
So they hit a point where they're like, well, I'm going to water because I would rather not get fined and have, the water bill I'm having. It's a double-edged sword. Is there a letter that we could actually prepare and send out to all of the HOAs stating that we are on water restrictions and sending out notifications is not acceptable?
Sure. Absolutely. We can do that. That would be something we'd work with our town attorney, Mr. Sapienza, on that.
If you hear of HOAs that are finding people this year for not watering their grass, please send that information over to me. And I'd like to discuss that with you and we can work on something.
Got it. So you hear that, residents? If anyone is and online,
Well, we can do the letter, that's for sure. And we
Perfect.
can send that out to the HOAs explaining, what the laws are and what they can and cannot do as far as the town of Wellington. And we can have that reviewed by Mr. Sapienza before it goes out.
got
But
it.
Can come from the board if that's your preference, or from the mayor.
Perfect. My last question would be, is I know some people, when I had sent my email, thank you, because I have sent a lot of questions. When I had asked about extending the repayment plan from 3 to 5 months to 9 months to allow people to a little bit more time, because this is literally a mortgage payment to some people monthly on top of their already mortgage payment. Is there a possibility that we can add that into this to extend out to 9 months for repayment plans? Can we amend it to add that to it?
So this is, I think this is separate. We're talking right now about the HUD grant itself. The repayment plan is something that we do internally, and we do work with our customers. Our goal, of course, is to help them get it paid off as soon as possible. We also have a very tight budget where we have water revenues that we need to, in order to, keep functioning as we do as the town, to make sure all our debts are paid and things like that. If someone can't pay for 9 months, if they have to extend it out to 9 months, we'll work with them on that. Our preference is with any other person that has a large bill, a credit card bill or something like that, you try to get that paid off in a shorter amount of time. So we will work with customers. I hate to say everyone has the 9 months, because if you're just past due $200, really, you need 9 months for that. But somebody who owes quite a bit, then that's something we'll work on with the customer.
Got it. And I'm not saying stop paying altogether for 9
Right.
months. I'm
Mhm.
just saying take that amount owing
Mhm.
and split it up over the 9 months.
Yep. Like I said, our preference is that shorter time frame, but if a resident needs to have an extended time frame, then we will work with them.
Perfect. I don't have any more questions right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Cannon.
Last time I checked, I think there's close to 4,000 homes here in Wellington. If no one is being denied, we're gonna need about $2 million to give everybody a $500 grant on their water. But we're only talking about 90-something thousand here. So is there no criteria for the HUG grant, HUG grant?
Not right now. We are opening it up. When this was originally created, we required documentation of, like, if you had a car that was broken down. But these are, or if you had a medical bill and we didn't take the bill, they just had to show it to us, show us that there was something an extenuating circumstance. We feel, and if the Board of Trustees would like us to do differently, but we feel these are unusual times. This is not a normal time.
Don't get me wrong. Because I believe that if we can assist, we should. And I like the idea of going from 3 to 500. Now, based on what you said, and I'm just going to throw an example out there, I could ask for this grant for my house because we had a water bill over $500. But I have all the capacity I need to make that payment. And I understand the repercussions of that. So I'm concerned that if we have a kind of an open-ended HUG grant out there and word gets out that everyone's approved, we're going to run out of money and not be able to handle the community. So I think there needs to be some kind of boundaries around it.
If you'd like that.
Something that shows that there is a definite need. And I think I mentioned at the last week's meeting when I was a manager, sometimes people would come to me and ask me to waive a late fee or something like that for financial hardship. Well, I would determine the hardship and I would waive the fees, when I could. But we're talking about a grant, a $500 grant basically per household.
Do you have an idea of a stipulation so we can amend that?
Well, I maybe at the discussion point, but this is just about a question about, is there sufficient funds to do what you're intending? And no, there's not. So we probably need to have a discussion about shaping what that is. And I don't want to make it hard for people to do this, but at the same time, I don't want people to take advantage of that, because we have an obligation to take people's tax dollars, which we are doing, and then we spend those tax dollars for the benefit of all, but not for the benefit of an individual family or an individual household. I think there's state restrictions in the Constitution against doing that. So, but if we have some kind of boundaries around it, I think it's worthwhile to have a discussion about that.
Okay.
And that's all I've got. Thank you.
We haven't required anything from anybody this year, and we've only had 10 applications. So keep that in mind.
Thank you.
But based on the conversations tonight, it could end up being a lot more.
Member Pro Tem.
No questions. I'll wait for a discussion.
Okay. Guess I have no questions either. At this point, we'll open up for public comment. Any comments from the public on this item? We'll be given 2 minutes to speak. thank you. All right, no public comment? Okay. All right, deliberation time. Trustee Moyer.
So thank you for putting this together so quickly. I actually would respectfully disagree with Trustee Cannon. I think that as with many things that we're discussing these days, there has to be some level of trust. I wouldn't necessarily be not in favor of some perimeters around approving someone for the HUD grant. However, I do think that those residents that have a $200 bill feel the pain and the angst that their neighbors are feeling with those larger bills that they can't pay or those that are being shut off. So I'd like to believe in our community enough to think that people wouldn't try to access this funding in a negative way. That being said, I also would like to entertain the idea of increasing the amount past 500 to 600 to 800 based on the fact that the original amount was based on 2 to 3 times, 2 to 3 months of a bill. And if ours has increased to 190 plus, a little under 300, I'd like to see that amount reflect the increase in charges. I also would be in favor of us reserving 5,000 of our discretionary fund to expend how we would like and possibly support a nonprofit, and then put the rest towards the HUD grant and the possibility of serving more residents. That's it.
Thank you. Trustee Teets.
Okay, so I ran a coat and coat closet for 7, 8 years, and I helped every single human that came into the doors was able to get and leave whatever they wanted to. And I will say there was one time I had my own gut check accomplished because I had a family pull up in a BMW and come and get a bunch of clothes from the clothes closet for free. And then I realized that that said family was living out of their BMW. So sometimes even on external appearances, it is not always going to look like someone may need the amount, but it may also be that that $200 was their max amount that they were ever allowed to invest in water. And they have a $700 or $800 water bill. So we have a lot of senior citizens that just because our water bills are adjusting doesn't mean their SSI or disability has adjusted, nor their retirement funding. So I would be in support of the fund going a little higher over the 500. My concern is I want to serve as many people as possible. And I think that's why I suggested the 500, because that was even people could apply that had already applied for the 300. They could get the additional 200. So I don't want to step on toes if now you're going to start seeing, instead of 10 applications this year, you're going to see 150 applications this year. So that's my thought on that. I am completely comfortable with the entirety of our board discretionary fund needing to go to this. If that increases the ability of more people getting served, that's 19,500, correct? In the discretionary fund. So I'm totally willing to give up the rest of that this year if it means that we're going to help more people balance out their water bills. I would like to, if we can, have additional work session discussion about items related to maybe addressing the tier structure, but that can come at a later date. I think maybe it's time to have that evaluation and look and see how things are balancing out. Other than that, that's pretty much all I have.
Perfect, thank you. So one thing I'll say, just real quick, if we do 500, we can technically, if we use the entirety of our fund, looking at 57 households that could use that. If we increase that to 600, looking at roughly 47 households. We increase it to 700, we're looking at a potential of 40. So keep that in mind. Just wanted to throw that out there real quick. Sure, Trustee Moore.
Related to that, I was trying to search my notes to find the percentage of people that are in that tier 3, tier 4 progressive billing at the moment.
It's
Um,
6%.
Thank
tier
you. That's what
4.
I thought. So do we know what that number is?
6%,
I'm sorry?
200,
Thank you.
yeah, this last month, 265. Okay. Trustee Kim.
I appreciate everyone's discussion on this and everyone's thoughts on this, and I appreciate all the public comment. And Colleen, if you want, you can contact me anytime. I'll be glad to sit down and listen to you. 57 households, it's not a lot. Again, I'm concerned that we're not gonna be able to help as many people as we would like if we don't have some kind of boundaries on there. Even if we just restrict it to the people who are in that upper tier at 170, we wouldn't be able to help all of those. We'd be able to help, what, a little over a third of them? That's about it. I don't have an answer. And if we approve this the way this is, we could run out of money and we'd help a lot of people, and that'd be great. And I'd be happy with that. But then there'd be a lot of people that say, what about me? That I missed that. I didn't hear about this. I don't follow social media, whatever the reason is. My comment earlier was simply about shaping some kind of boundaries around this so it doesn't become a free-for-all. And that might be a bad term, but I just don't want the town to be flooded and have to turn people down or turn people away because we're out of money for this.
I think to the best of my knowledge as well, of those 265 homes that were in the 4th tier, only 89 of those customers actually contacted the town. So that's something that may help with brainstorming ideas, things of that nature, and that's the best of my knowledge. Trustee Wiegand?
Yeah, I'd love to be able to give people a whole bunch more than the 500, but I think we do have to be financially responsible here to the town. And, and there's a lot of people out there on fixed incomes. I understand, and I'm going to be one of those before long myself. So, you definitely would like to have something as permanent and that you could to take care of this problem. And I know a lot of people do need some help out there. 57 people, jumped into the 4th tier. I was one of them lucky ones. And my thing was at that time, I had to try to fix the problem as much as I can. And hopefully I have. But again, we need to be there to assist the people that need the assistance. And I would love to see, I think the main thing that we have to do is try to take care of the overall problem. I don't know if we can change any of the past. We're not going to be able to change the past except for these little bandages that we're going to put on it right now. But as far as looking at tier systems and all that type of stuff, I think it's something we're definitely going to have to do. And again, it kind of goes back to what's the old saying, give a person a fish, you feed them for one day, but if you teach them how to fish, you feed them for life. And that's what we're going to have to do is try to fix the problem, teach them what they need to do, and, hopefully find something that will help remedy, people like me that used 33,000 gallons last month, which was ridiculous that I had no idea. And like I say, I think we need to be responsible. We need to have our parameters, but we're going to need to have, guidelines and education of people what they can do to fix the problem too. So,
Or are you in favor?
I'm in favor of the 500.
500.
500 completely.
Okay.
I would love to have more, but I think we're going to have to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'm looking at the application for the HUG grant right now, and I was, as you're talking about needing to educate people on this, I was thinking back to when the HUG grant was really instituted, and while the parameters are somebody needs to have a hardship, and one of the reasons there's no guidelines around that is for each person, it's different. For some people, being in tier 5 is an absolute hardship, but for other people, tier 1 might end up being a hardship for them, making them unemployed. So how does the town weigh that? And so the idea was hardship as kind of as defined by the person, but there's other requirements for participating in it. And one of those is in order to receive a HUG grant, the person must sign up for a water use audit or training. You know,
We don't have the staffing to do that
Okay.
at this point in time.
well,
That was a requirement, but we do not have the staff available to do that anymore.
it's still on the website.
I-
Apologize.
We're going to change it, but yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Trustee Daly.
A little background for the $300 from my memory is that in the winter months, same way that your sewer rates are determined, the idea is that we're only using the winter months to determine your sewer because the assumption is you're not doing outdoor irrigation in the middle of the winter. So, and that's also how the essential use level was determined is, what does the essential necessary water in each household, and that would be, the water that you would use in the winter, for example, the same volume. So our minimum bill minus box elder fees is around $97 a month. So if you're not using more than, the 3,000 tier, your bill would always be $97 a month. That's including stormwater, sewer. I have all that built in together. So like, for example, in the winter, mine's always the minimum. We're always within only 2,000 tier, right? But I have a smaller family than others. So what I'm proposing is the amount that we would consider giving in a HUG grant is 3 times the essential use of each household. So if it's a larger household in the winter, it would determine what their essential use is. So mine would be $97 max, but a large families might be in the winter 150, 200, if that's the case. So if the goal is to provide within a HUG grant, essential use of water for 2 to 3 months, that would be a calculated value per user of historical use in the winter. So someone who has a larger family would then qualify for a larger HUG grant. So if you want a quantifiable, logical reason of the value of a HUG grant, that was kind of the background of how we came to that value to begin with. And I think that some people need more than $500. So if we were to have to make a rule to understand how to do it, that would be my suggestion. It would be 3 months of essential use for that family, the definition by that family. The 3,000 is determined by the majority of all of our water users with 3,000, that tier or less. That's why we determined 3,000 to make sure the majority of all of our users were covered within that threshold of essential use. But each household is different. If I had 5 kids, it might be different. So, but that household has essential use, and those are the winter month usage. So if we need a calculation, that would be what I would recommend. Just because we can't help everybody doesn't mean that we can't help anyone. And then I know that the town is doing everything they can to help people, even proactively reaching out to people who may be at risk of shut off. So given that they are already doing this is an opportunity to kind of provide that to people who are the most vulnerable at this moment, to help them with setting up a payment plan, even maybe they don't have, a large quantity to apply to it initially and immediately. So, and we have to trust people. I will not apply for a HUD grant. I know that other families need that more. And I know that, and I trust that the town of Wellington takes care of their community. And I think knowing that this is something that we can do, I think people will make the right choices. And then the other thing too is, why don't we just decrease people's bills? I think that's a very valid question. I want to make sure it's recognized that the HUD grant comes out of discretionary fund that is not the water fund. So by providing a grant to apply towards a utility bill, it's not coming out of the water money. So we can't lower the amount that's in our water fund. That's super risky. That's where the whole problem is to begin with. But if we can add money from a different fund through a purpose of a grant, that's how this is possible. And it's the same thing where this board applies the maximum legal amount from the general fund and supplements the water fund every year and is planning to and has it planned for the next few years, that we are giving it as much money as possible to, make the burden less on utility payers. I know it's hard to believe, but I mean, we've been doing that. We can plan to, although every budget season we have to make this decision, plan to continue giving the maximum legal amount into the water fund to make it easier for a ratepayer. So that's why, and that's how it works. I just want to make sure that's clear in case people are confused, like just lower bills. And that's why we have to do it this weird way. So I think 3 months, essential use per family, help as many people as we can, proactively reach out to people we know who are vulnerable. And I think that's the most we can do at this moment.
So to clarify, do you have a dollar amount in mind, or do you use that calculation to figure out the dollar amount per family?
It's the same calculation as used for sewer rates.
Okay.
So we
that's what
actually,
you- Okay.
yeah, so I mean, the same use, like kind of usage amount, so the same kind of tier amount. So it would be, 3 times their winter use months that we also use those same months to calculate sewer rates.
Okay. So so your idea is if they come to us for a HUD grant, we are going to use that calculation off of their real data from the months that we figure out sewer to know how much money to give them.
Yeah, because
Okay.
that's the indoor water usage of that family, or that group of people.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And that would be like a maximum amount. Maybe they don't need that much, but that would be like within that amount potentially.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this is a pretty difficult topic, folks. Obviously, this is quite a bit of a moving target, and I highly doubt this is the last time we're going to be discussing the HUD grant. Certainly, we're going to be discussing rates and tiers and what all that looks like here coming up budget season. But just as far as this goes, I certainly, for tonight's purposes, I would absolutely be in agreement that we move this up to 500 tonight. I do think there's more discussion to be had. So, I mean, if we want to talk about eligibility requirements, certainly I agree with Trustee Cannon in that regard. I think Trustee Daly has some great ideas. Even if that means, saying that it's simply limited to tier 3 and tier 4 folks. I'm not sure that's the right idea, but I think there's certainly eligibility requirements we could discuss. I don't think we've got time to do that tonight. If we're going to bump this up to 500, I think it needs to be done now. So, I would say, yeah, I'm definitely in support of the 500. Unfortunately, just doing a little back of the napkin math here, 170 folks in tier 4 times $200 a pop is $34,000. So that's already more than we have in both the discretionary fund and the available balance in the HUD grant. So unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be possible. But I would also point out we've only got about 2 months of irrigation season left. And we've got 10 applicants here to point. So again, going forward, as far as moving money out of the discretionary fund to the HUD grant fund, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I'm not sure we need to do that tonight. We've still got money in the fund. So if that's something we need to do at a later date, I think we can get that done too. So I would like to see this move forward with the 500 tonight if we can do that.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to go around, ask some clarifying questions. Trustee Teets, are you in favor of moving our entire fund balance over to the HUD grant fund?
Yes.
Trustee Kim,
Yes, I am.
Trustee Moore,
Yes.
Trustee Wiegand.
Yes.
I agree as needed, but I'm fine either way.
Go either way.
I'm a,
Go either way.
I would still say as needed. I mean, like I
Okay.
said, we've
Okay.
got money in the, so.
But, okay. Trustee Moore, would you be comfortable with 500?
Yes, but I like Rebecca's idea better.
Thank you. Trustee Wiegand.
I like those parameters of Rebecca.
Pretty-
Trustee Daly.
Pretty sweet, right? Okay.
Yes.
I know yours.
I like my idea.
Yeah. Trustee Teets.
I'm comfortable with the 500, or if the board chooses to go with the sewer rates, I'm also in support of that.
Perfect. Okay. Trustee Cannon.
I like Rebecca's idea. In fact, thanks for clarifying some of the reasons why those minimum charges are there. I like using that rate, and it's just a matter of just going to Consell and figure out what their winter rate is. But I would probably cap it at 500.
That
You
was
know.
my question.
You
Is
know,
there a
in
cap?
other, yeah,
Right.
if they're in a tier that's going to give them $800, rather cap it at 500. Again, it's just about
But
reaching most people as we can.
correct, correct. Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, what are your thoughts there on,
I would agree with the cap. I would agree with that. And I do like Trustee Daly's idea. I guess I would ask staff, is that something that's feasible? Can we make that happen?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I would agree.
okay. Yeah, I think, the biggest thing of this is trying to reach as many people as we possibly can. So, I do struggle with the cap though. Because who are we to say that $500 is, I mean, obviously, this isn't going to solve all the problems. We're doing what we can in this moment. But if we're going to do this moment, I think we should, I don't know as though we should cap it. Because if we're looking at sewer usage in the winter months, that is their essential water to operate. If they're applying for this grant, they're in a hardship of some sort, right? There's plenty of residents here that will call and set up a payment plan and they'll pay over time. There's ones that just can't do that, right? This is designed for that population, right? The ones that are, cars broken down, they can't get to work, whatever the case may be, they're struggling to make ends meet, and now this hits them. So I think if we cover essential use, that's our purpose. That's why we're here. We're here to make sure that they can still live, and we're going to cover that the best that we possibly can. So I don't think we put a cap on it. That's my thoughts there. I agree with using that calculation. My concern about not putting a cap on it is how many people could we actually truly reach? We don't really know those full numbers, but I would imagine that most in-home usage that we base the sewer rates off of is probably not going to be more than $500.
Correct. We're struggling to think if there is a scenario where someone's 3 month of
right.
their
If
sewer
if
would
there,
be over $500.
yeah, it'd be really hard to see somebody using that many gallons in the winter months unless there obviously is a leak, and then that'd be a whole different scenario, right? So, I'm completely in favor of the calculation with no cap. If the board can get behind that, I say somebody make a motion.
I can be supportive of that as well. So I would make a motion that we use the winter usage base rate,
Sewer.
sewer calculation base rates, multiplied by 3 months for the HUG grant with no cap.
Second.
Could be less.
Could be less, yeah.
Clarifying question or further discussion, if that's okay.
Yeah, by all means.
The quantity I was mentioning was the full bill amount. So it was including all rates, including sewer, storm, box elder. It was a combined bill. So I do not want to limit it to just base rates. So it's
Right.
the whole entire cost of essential use for all water related billing that comes from Wellington.
Okay, so we may need to okay, we're gonna have to read the motion.
So I'm going to withdraw my original motion then, so that we can, Rebecca, why don't you phrase that motion then?
Yeah, so we're gonna take our discretionary fund, move our remaining balance.
Let's let them do this.
Okay, we're moving our available balance within our discretionary fund over to the HUD grant fund. And then that fund will be able to be utilized for residents, and the calculation for the grant in which they will receive is going to be based off of 3 months of winter usage billing. The ones that we use to set So I'm not gonna make the motion, but,
I will,
There it
just
is.
a moment. What's the resolution number? My internet's.
oh,
not
yeah,
working.
you got it.
We did not do a
There's
resolution.
not
It was
one,
just-
so.
we'll
This
just
is
do a
just
motion.
direction?
This is just,
Oh, okay.
just a motion of the
Okay.
Board of Trustees. It'll be reflected in the minutes.
Uh-huh, okay. I move that we move all discretionary funds to the HUD grant. And we adjust the calculation maximum of the HUD grant to equal bills from winter months, which are the same 3 months utilized for sewer rates.
Second.
Clarification. Were we doing a cap?
No, we did not cap it.
Okay, so we did maximum though.
Maximum is those 3 months.
Those 3 months.
Got it.
Yeah.
That. Good, okay, okay. For a second, any further deliberation? Okay. Mr. Clerk, may I get a roll call, please?
Trustee Daly,
Yes.
trustee Moyer,
Yes.
trustee Teets,
Yes.
trustee Wiegand,
Yes.
trustee Cannon,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mason.
Yes.
Mayor Shosse.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously and the item is approved with the stated amendment.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Okay,
Ms. Garcia.
Thank you.
All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Clerk, do I hear a roll call, please?
Somebody second.
Second.
Oh, second.
Good
Roll
grief.
call, please.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Trustee Daly,
Yes.
trustee Moyer,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
trustee Wiegand,
Yes.
trustee Teets,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mason,
Yes.
Mayor Shosse.
Yes,
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
thank you. Now close the regular meeting, time being 6:47, or the special meeting, time being 6:47 PM.